Dustin Poirier, Nate Diaz, guys, let's pay this off. We talked about it the other day. We talked about it from a standpoint of we have Nate Diaz versus Dustin Poirier to look forward to. We now find out that that's not the case. Why? There's not a whole bunch of options. In fairness, there's more options than I'm going to think of on the spot for you right now, but not many. So if you got a theory, lay it on me. I'm all ears. It would go something like this. One of those guys didn't want the fight. Well, no, we have evidence to the contrary. Nate Diaz has been open to anybody that will listen. I want to fight tonight. You pick the opponent. Let's do it right now. So it wasn't Nate. Poirier's the one that revealed the information to us in the first place. Poirier was doing an interview with Teddy Atlas, and Poirier just sets this beautiful nugget down that makes all of us curious, everybody's attention. Poirier doesn't tell us the date, but he does give us a clue that it's going to be short notice. You know that these guys are both pay-per-view stars. There's 2 pay-per-views coming up. One's the middleweight championship. One's the heavyweight championship. Reverse that order. Okay, I think we got this figured out. Nate and Poirier are going to strengthen up a card and go out to Houston. Bob's your uncle. Well, no. We're now being told that's not what's going to happen. And guys, make sure that you understand where I'm at on this story. Not that this is still being discussed. Not that that is not finalized yet. That is off the table. That is done. UFC said no. And UFC made it sound like, now I got to draw an interpretation to this because these were not their words. It was my interpretation of tone was, we were never going to do that fight. Not sure where this rumor came from. Now I'm putting words in there. That's not what was said. It was open for another interpretation, which is, hey, this just didn't happen. Maybe we'll look at another day. I took it. Me, Chael. I don't know where this rumor came from. That simply is not happening. Okay. Why not? You still come back to the why not. Are those guys just too much money? Does that card not have any room? Is everything intact? That's not being looked at, or that is being looked at, but it never was in a short notice fight for as quick as February to come underneath Adesanya versus Whitaker Part 2. I mean, right, there's only so many options here. And generally within the UFC, if you do their job for them, they will like that. I always encourage people love to tell the UFC no. For the silliest reasons, by the way, to get out of a match. That doesn't work for me, or I'm buddies with that guy, or I got something else to do that day. Whatever it is, I mean, the excuses that fighters have to get out of doing a match are well beneath the dog ate my homework, in all fairness. I mean, it is the most ridiculous and silly things that you hear. But when you bring 2 stars together that work it all out and drop it in their lap, everybody likes that. Great. But the UFC didn't. Why? And I'm stuck a little bit. I don't fully know. It was a disappointment to me. Nate Diaz's last fight in the UFC is going to be a heartbreaking moment. I think we can all relate to that. Like, if there was any sunshine, it's that we've kicked that can at least a little bit. However, we can't really take a joy in kicking that can when Nate doesn't want to kick. Nate wants to do it now. So you want to show that support to Nate. Okay, let's give him an opponent, but who's it's going to be? I mean, Dustin Poirier sure checks a lot of boxes. And I personally find that interesting. One, because I remember the backstory on where those guys were going to fight in New York, Madison Square Garden, and the BMF ends up coming instead, and Nate shows up and Dustin was gone. But I also liked it because the weight class would have been 170 pounds, I think. And that's a tough one too. See, I got to keep saying I think we don't have any evidence though. So I'm asking you guys, if you got something more than I've got, lay it on me. But Nate has been fighting at 170 pounds. Nate's last fight was at 170 pounds. Dustin Poirier has a hard time making 155. For a short notice fight, it would seem as though if you could spot him 15, he's more likely to be in. And Dustin made it very clear to Teddy Atlas, he's in. Dustin also alluded before his Poirier fight that he was going to go up to 170. Now, those are clues. Those are circumstantial at best. That's not any hard evidence that I have, but I'm openly admitting to you guys, I don't know what's going on here. When Nate comes on the back of that and says, look, the UFC isn't, Nate did this in a tweet, he said the UFC isn't going to do the Dustin fight, he then fired a shot at Oliveira as well, but those are 55-pounders. So maybe Nate is that wide open. Maybe Nate so much wants to compete, he wants to do it right away. Maybe we've got 2 different weight classes to draw from. I don't know. There was talk at one point of Chimaev versus Nate, but again, that's at 170. So I'm left without knowing a whole lot. I feel I owe it to you guys to come back and talk about this because we all but confirmed over here, we all confirmed that was going to be the new Conor co-main event in February, Houston, Adesanya versus Whitaker. I got to run it back. I don't want anybody going out and buying a ticket to that, thinking and then yelling at me, saying, Chael, you're the one that told. I did tell you, but this is what I thought, and I had it wrong, and now I'm admitting that to you. But I had a pretty damn good source, which was Dustin Poirier. That's a pretty good source. Dustin's going to fight Nate. I know Nate wants to fight. I know they were supposed to fight, and Dustin said they're going to fight. Okay, great. You guys see where I did my math. But I still would come back to my original question here. The genesis of this entire conversation is simply, why did that fight not come together? And generally fighters screw everything up, or the managers screw everything up. Everybody's got a contract. All you got to do is sign off, but now all of a sudden they don't want to honor their contract. I don't think that that's what happened here. I don't think that Nate, for one, is looking for any kind of a push and pull. He's made it pretty clear he wants to go out there and compete. And I think that Dustin Poirier saw Nate as a real opportunity. Dustin sounded like it, and Dustin went as far when he was talking to Teddy Atlas to say, I've already said yes. Now, I think it's that line that screwed me and all of us up. When Dustin said, I have already agreed to fight Nate, what I thought that meant is that Dustin was called, he was offered the fight, and he said yes. Perhaps it means there was a rumor out there, or there was even a call out on social media, and Dustin has agreed to it, and that call didn't actually come from the second floor of the offices in Las Vegas known as the Ultimate Fighting Championship. But somewhere somebody got their wires crossed. It looks like we've got them straightened out. I don't have a better idea for either one of those guys, by the way. I have equally as good of ideas. I think Conor McGregor versus either one of them. I think George Masvidal. I mean, I can get you equally as good ideas, but I don't know that I have a better idea. Nate Diaz, Dustin Poirier, man, that for me, that's interesting.